Politics. I'm your host, Darlene Price, and tonight we have two very special guests. First off, we have our very own Dan Gibson out of Pulaski County, Truth or Politics. And the reason we asked him to be one of the hosts here tonight, for sure, is he is a retired big game hunter guide. And one of the topics we're going to cover tonight is the black bear in our community and the other wildlife, too. And also we have Smitty here, Greg Smith. He is our animal control officer, and he has a whole lot of expertise and just does a really good job here in McCreary County. And so we want to touch several topics, but before we get started, as always, we want to thank everybody who joins us at Truth or Politics. We want to thank all the teams at Truth or Politics of Pulaski County, Louisville, here in McCreary County, and we are trying to get one started up in northern Kentucky. We want to thank all our fans out there. We want to thank MBR TV. We are live tonight on MBR TV and all the fans there. And Steve Hall, our hero who runs MBR TV, who puts us on every night. And we want to thank, of course, Michael Mann, the man behind all the technology that I don't know how to do. The reason you're getting to watch this tonight. And everybody makes Truth or Politics happen. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. First off, folks, tourism. I spend a lot of time in the woods, and on my private Facebook page, Darlene Price, I have posted over the past year, I've got a bunch of trail cams and the game preserve behind my house. And I posted, dozens of pictures of wolves, coy wolves, black bears, you name it. You can go and look at that. And I do that for a reason. I'm trying to promote tourism here because we have as many black bears, if not more, right here in McCreary County and surrounding area than Gatlinburg does. And the difference is we don't have the traffic. And we also have Cumberland Falls and everything else. True. However, these beautiful animals that I love and try to help protect, and oh, by the way, if you are a poacher and you think for a minute that you're going to get to poach the animals behind my house in that game preserve, I've got trail cameras everywhere. You will get caught, and I will make sure that you are prosecuted. And with the help of this guy, too.
That's my job.
That's his job. So, but here's the thing. Anything good can also, this is a double-edged sword. These are wild animals, folks. They are. And they can be dangerous if you're not careful, and they can become a problem if there's not common sense. And we were talking, we always have the show before the show, and sometimes that's better than the show. But I want to toss it first to you, because I want you to hit what some of the poaching does in this county and how it really affects also the cattle farmers and stuff. Hit that for a minute, if you will.
We are having some difficulty with poachers, and what they're doing a lot of times is I'm out late hours. I get calls to go to loose horses, loose cattle, various things in our neighborhoods that are causing problems. What I find quite often is when I research the fencing area and I inspect everything the next day or whatever, is that poachers are coming in and they're cutting honest working folks' fences. As they cut the fences, this in turn allows these livestock to get free and ends up in the road. We have to worry about traffic accidents, individuals getting hurt, and our poachers are a very large problem in the area of certain farms and cattle ranches because they're looking for the deer. And I've even had them to pull some cattle. So if you're out there doing poaching, you are being sought. We have rules and regulations against this. If anyone has a problem, they're more than welcome to give me a call, and I'll come out and inspect your place. We'll look everything over, and I'll give you all the policies and the Kentucky statutes that cover that.
Yeah, and it's just wrong too. I mean, what you're doing is you're taking an opportunity from a legitimate hunter, and like the moron that shot the elk. I mean, we may never be able to have legitimate hunters hunt elk around here because some fool did that. So you're also placing people like me in danger. When I'm out there on the trail, and I'm in the woods a lot, I'm probably in the woods more than most hunters are. I'm as much as almost the forest people are. And you put people like me in danger when I'm out there because, poachers usually are not, the best hunters either. They just see something move and they'll shoot it. You might be shooting me. So, think twice about that. And if you know someone who's poaching, turn them in. If you know they're doing this, turn them in. And you can do so anonymously. So, You can contact him or contact the sheriff's office, and they'll contact him. And we'll make sure you stay anonymous, and we'll he can work with the sheriff's office, and they'll catch him, because these people need to be caught because they're dangerous. They're creating a danger out there.
Animal control will take any call from anybody. All information will be gathered, but the information is confidential unless ordered by a judge or in the case that it has to come out. No one will receive any information on you. No one will know that you called, and that is my job, is to protect you as well as the rest of my community.
And we're going to talk about bears. That's one of the reasons I got a big game hunter guide here. He actually knows a lot more about bears than I do. But I will say this. I've had the bears come up my yard. They're on the trail with me all the time. And somehow, in 20 years of me being on these trails and everything, I have managed to not get eaten by a bear. So a lot of it's a little bit of common sense, folks, is what it is. And I know that, there are people who are having bears come up in their yard and they're afraid of them and stuff. So I'm going to show you one technique tonight. Get ready, because you're going to have to plug your ears. This is super effective. If you got a bear coming up in your yard and you're afraid of it and everything, I understand that. But what I'm about to show you is one of the most effective ways. This scares them to death, and they will run away. And so close your ears, put your fingers in your ears. It's real simple. A metal pot, and either a metal spoon or 2 metal pots, and this is loud. This scares them. They will run, I promise you. They will run away. So that's one of the things you can do.
Do you carry them on the trail with you?
Oh, no, I don't. But I have them I have a bigger one and an old spoon on my front porch.
I was teasing.
No, I don't carry pots of beans on the trail with me. But I have dogs, and I have a whistle, and I have, other things. I have pepper spray, 2 guns, whatever. And one of the reasons I carry guns is more for the coy wolves, which we're going to get into in a minute, and for 2-legged snakes that might be out there, more so than I do the bears, okay? I've never had to shoot at a bear or anything to do with bears. The other thing is trash. I'll let you guys go in. Do you guys want to talk about the trash? Controlling your trash is one of the biggest things to keep the bears not associating humans with food.
This is a part of my everyday. I have this problem constantly with the bears and the dogs. Proper management of your trash is use the proper receptacles. Don't set it beside the road. Don't overstack your receptacles. Let the lid stay down on them. Make sure that you get it out just in time for pickup. Don't let it sit on your porches and such. Bears will naturally gravitate to anything that's free. So if you leave a bag sitting out with overnight goodies in it, leftovers from supper or what have you, they have a tremendous sense of smell, and they will come straight into your porch, and that puts them in close proximity to you and your animals, your home. And they've been known to open car doors, tear open trunks, looking for baby food that was left inside a car. Different things that you wouldn't normally think of. Leftover piece of sandwich like you throw a McDonald's bag in the floor of your car. If your window's cracked or if the breeze is just right, that scent is still leaving the car, no matter how secure it is. And that bear will come and decide to open your door. He'll rip your door handles off, break your windows out. So properly disposing of your trash is a first in the defense against any kind of aggression of animals.
Yeah, because we don't want them to start associating human smell with food. And these idiots, and that's right, I'm calling you an idiot, you're a moron, that throw the McDonald's bags and stuff out the windows on the side of the road. Because now that McDonald's bag has the smell of food and humans on it. And they're going to associate that. And at some point, and this Dan we'll talk about here in a minute, I'm sure, at some point, these bears, right now there's no problem. We've had tons and tons of bears. Nobody's ever been bitten or anything. And we hope to keep it that way. But that could change if stupid people, keep being stupid. So, and I will tell a quick story about what happened to us. And we're pretty bear conscious. And we love the bears. We do. We don't, my husband and I, we love the bears. So, but we had our grandkids staying with us and our little nephews. And one night, Austin kids can create trash quicker than anything. So he took a black plastic, and they know what these trash bags look like. They know. They're. You got to think of these bears as giant raccoons. Okay, am I right? They're a lot
Close.
like giant raccoons. Okay, so my husband put the bag out there and ran back in for something. I mean, we're talking just a matter of minutes. Ran back in, and all of a sudden the kids there's a bear on the porch. I mean, just that quick, that bear knew what that was, and he was on our porch. And of course, then you had a mess clean up. But we used the trusty old Dusty. Even the grandkids went right out there. Bam, 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 bam. And he took off. You know, he wanted nothing to do with that. He literally left food to run away from that sound. So, but that's how quick it can happen. So you got to really be totally trash conscious. And I know you want to jump in there.
Bear are very, very intelligent, and they communicate in ways that we don't understand and don't know about. Once one decides that human beings are prey, are edible, and easy prey at that, they will pass it around, and they do. It seems like overnight. I've seen this happen in different communities out west. And once a bear decides that a human being is prey, the other bears, it seems like all at once, they all become aware that human being is easy meat, easy thing to get. And I'm afraid that might happen at some point in other areas, and that concerns me. I'd like to ask a question of the...
Sure, yeah.
I personally feel that people have rights on their own private property, and they have a right to have a grill out and have food out in the yard and enjoy the property as they should. I don't think a bear has any right to come on that property and hurt someone or take their food. What do you have any? I'm sure you do. Could you tell us what the laws are about that? I'm sure the people would be interested.
There are several things that are covered in the KRS statutes 258 and 259 and various other statutes. You can look them up. They're easily accessible online. I use them all the time. You have the right, according to, I'm going to use Kentucky as that's where we're at. You have a right to defend yourself against anything that's hostile or dangerous intent to your family or your livestock or your home, your children, such and so forth. We would encourage you to use every means possible to run the bears away. If they decide to come into your property area, make loud noise, back away slowly. Don't give them any kind of indication that you're afraid of jumping around. A lot of times you're told to stand up and look bigger than the bear. Make them think you're a big bad animal yourself.
Or make a very loud noise.
Make very loud noises. Very loud noises is what is the primary way of disposing or dispersing animals that you don't want in the area. The laws are covered. If you want even more laws, you can check with the ranger station right out here on Highway 27, and they will cover every law in regards to what you can do with a bear on your property, what you can't, and how you report it, so forth and so on. You can call me at night if it's that bad. I'm to respond to areas 911 at night after hours, and they'll dispatch me out to your area, and I can clear your area with noise and different things to get them out of there. Now, if this is an emergency in the middle of a picnic or such, you do have rights to defend your family.
But one thing you don't want to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I learned this from him, the big game running guy, the last thing you want to do if you come up on a bear is scream and run. Why? Because then you look like what? Prey. You sound like prey, and you look like prey. So the last thing, and let me tell you something, folks, you're not outrunning these bears. Okay, I went, in fact, this was just about a month ago on my trail. I was early in the morning. It was dusky dark still. I had my headlight on, and it was foggy. And I went under a tree. Training my dogs. I went under a tree. My dogs had backtracked the bear. They were smelling, but they went the opposite way first. And I kept trucking. I run, some of it up the hill, and I went under this tree, and there he was, as close as probably about 20 feet, 25 feet. And I went like this, and he went like this. I'm here to tell you, I've never seen anything run so fast in my life. That bear and this is a pretty steep hill. He's seen the hill. This is a miniature mountain. That bear, from the time he reacted, he topped that hill in under 3 seconds. And left my dogs behind. And, by the time my dogs come up behind me and they were on the chase, you're not outrunning these bears. So screaming and running can actually trigger an attack, not only with the bears, and we're going to talk about these stray dogs too. If you scream and run from anything like that, you can trigger an attack when you're not. Any dog, any animal, am I wrong here? All of a sudden they see a bunch of kids running. I mean, they might they think you're playing or something. Oh, something's running. Squirrel.
Right.
They're going to chase you. So one of the worst things you can do with any of this wildlife, really, now I'm told, except for now, you don't want to scream and run with mountain lions here, but you do want to we'll talk about mountain lions in a minute, as opposed to bear. Bear, you want to stand your ground. Am I wrong?
No.
Not scream and yell. And believe me, for 20 years I've been in the woods, and I'm still here. Nothing has eaten me yet. And I'm back in a game reserve where there are mountain lions, there are coy wolves, there's everything. And it just, with a little bit of common sense, folks, you will be fine, in our woods. I practically live there. Just a little bit of common sense, a little bit of savvy. Go ahead, you want to say something?
At one time or another, I've been on almost every hill and holler in this country. And I have never, and I've seen we were so blessed to have such a wonderful area to look at. It's just incredible. The game, the scenery, this whole area has. People just don't know how beautiful and wonderful this country is. But she was talking about this hill that this bear went up. That hill's covered with berries.
Oh, yeah.
And don't try to compete with a bear over his food.
Mm-mm.
He will take you on in a New York instant. I was hunting in Colorado one time. Do you mind me telling us?
No, go ahead.
I was hunting in Colorado one time. I had some clients out there. And I was trying to call some elk off of a hill down to a open, they call them parks, an open area. So my hunters were positioned around the park. And so I was wanting to fill the park with elk, and I speak fluent elk. And,
he does. Believe me, we've gone on vacations with him in the Rocky Mountains. He knows where to go, where the tourists don't, and he called an elk, and it was amazing. It was cool. Go ahead.
But anyway, I heard or smelled the prevailing winds was from them to us, and if you know what you're smelling for, you can actually smell these animals. But most people don't even. It doesn't cross their mind what that smell is, and they don't even smell it.
I can tell you what it is real quick, because we had one tree right in our yard, our dogs did, and it smells like a combination of a skunk, a dead body, and crap. That's what, am I wrong?
Right. That's what a bear smells like.
A bear.
But elk have a little different smell.
I thought you were talking about bear, okay.
But I smell both.
Yeah.
So I give a stressed calf call, a baby elk calf call, stressed. And so when I did that, I heard them coming. I thought it was the herd of elk. They were coming over the hill fast, making all kinds of noise, coming down this ravine, coming down into the park. And so I was about 50 yards from the edge of the ravine. And so this noise came down through there and busted out of the ravine, and it was a black bear, a large black bear, and probably, I'd say 600 pounds, and maybe more. They get a little bigger out there than they do here. But anyway, he looked around, he was looking for those elk, and he saw me. And when he saw me, I could tell that he thought that I had his elk. He wanted that elk to eat, and I could just see it go through his mind. He's got my elk. So his ears come back, and he come on to me, and I had no choice. At 10 yards, I shot him, killing blow. But he didn't know that. He didn't know he was dead yet. He turned and ran. It hit him hard, and he turned and ran. I shot him with a bow and arrow. And I was on the ground. It was a very dangerous situation. But anyway, he turned and ran to the edge of the ravine, was about to go back down the ravine and change his mind. and turn around and come back at me. And when they're mad at you, remember this: most of the time, they're not going to make bad noises unless they are getting ready to attack you. And when they do, most of the time they do this, and I've seen many of them. They click their teeth.
Chatter.
They'll click their teeth, and
We call
you
chatter.
can beware when that starts. You need to find some defense or some method of protecting yourselves from them, because from that point on, they're out to get you.
Also, speaking of other ways to protect yourself other than a gun, pepper spray works with bears too. It does. In fact, behind our trash thing, this is several years ago, I thought it was a dog.
Mm-hmm.
It was laying through some bushes, and I thought, stupid dog had gotten into our trash. And then right after that's when we got we have bear-proof trash cans now. And so I put the sneak up on it, and I got as close as, me to that wall right there, and all of a sudden it stood up, and I went, oh crap, that's a bear. But it took off, man. And it made the most pitiful sound, just like, ooh, like it was. Then I felt kind of bad because I spray paint. But pepper spray works on bears too. So if you can, I carry that, and maybe I'm wrong, but if one ever gets too close to me or something, I will try pepper spray first, because I really don't want to kill a bear, and I really don't want to shoot a bear. So I'll try pepper spray first, and then if I have to, But so far, 20 years, Dan, I'm still here. He always says we're gonna find, a bear wearing your
scat down in the trail down there, and it's gonna have those rings in it.
And my whistle, it's gonna be wearing my whistle. Go ahead.
The pepper spray is one of my go-tos. I use it for every kind of hostile animal situation. I carry it regular.
Yeah.
It can be purchased in many of our local stores here. Any of it works. It's better to have some than none. It's very functional. If you'll get a hold of me, I can even teach you how to make it at home and use a home version to carry with you all the time. Especially like on your picnic days and places in parks where you're not normally worried about anything, but you never know. So if you get a hold of me through the local atmosphere here in the county, I'll be glad to teach you how to make it at home, and it's very simple. And I recommend it, and I have used it to defend myself on numerous occasions.
Yeah, it works, and and it's an effective tool to use, so you don't have to shoot something. Because here's the other thing, unless you're like these guys, expert shooters, I'm trained to kill humans. That didn't sound right. I mean, as a federal agent, you go through a lot of training, self-defense training for humans.
And they're the most dangerous animal on the face of the
Yeah,
earth.
right. So, but I'm not trained really to hunt animals, and I'm not a hunter. I love animals. I don't want to hunt them. But I'm also not trained to thought. But if I had to, I would. But I really highly suggest, unless you're an expert, you shoot one of these bears, and you don't know what you're doing, and you really are not a trained hunter. You wound a bear, then hit it, Dan.
A bear in one leap can travel at least 10 yards in one leap. Now, he can be on you from a distance you wouldn't believe before you even can get a weapon up. It's incredible how quick they are if they need be. And if you shoot him a wounded blow, and just like that one I was telling you about where I hit him a killing blow, but he didn't realize it, and he came back on me. But when they do that, they can be on you instantly, and you just probably, unless you can really place that bullet or bow or whatever it is you're attacking the animal with, I wouldn't do it because it makes him 1,000 times as dangerous when you do that. We are blessed with such a absolutely beautiful outdoors here in this country. I don't want people to get afraid of scared to death of these bears, because you don't have to be. I've walked in these woods most of my life, and I've seen animals. Well, for instance, I've seen mountain lion, large black cats, large bobcats, not just regular bobcat, that high.
Yeah, I've got big ones behind my house. I got pictures of them.
Bobcats as big as the mountain lions. We have those here. I haven't seen Bigfoot yet, but I think I've heard him a couple times. But anyway, it's absolutely, if you're an outdoors person, it is the place. The scenery is unbelievable. I can't stress it enough. Be safe with these animals, but I've never been attacked in these woods by a big game animal. Never. In all my life.
And
So-
me too, and I'm 5 foot nothing, and I'm here, and I'm in the woods literally 4 to 5 days a week, hours at a time. And in the wintertime, I just live out there. My husband has to call, "Are you okay? Where are you going?"
What's your location?
Yeah, what is your location? Because I'm in the woods. I love the woods. I'm a woods person, especially in the wintertime. Okay, let's switch it to coy wolves. Okay, for those of you out of state, because we have a lot of people in California around watching. Go ahead.
I'd like to add one last thing.
Go ahead.
I sort of fibbed a little bit because I did have a bobcat take my squirrels. I was squirrel hunting one day, and he came and took my squirrels from me.
Take the fish from you.
That's a true story.
Okay, so we have these things around this area. They did turn wolves loose. They tried to reintroduce wolves in Kentucky, and what happened was, I don't know who screwed this up, but somebody did, and so they didn't turn enough of them loose like they did in Yellowstone. And I've covered this before. And what happened was when Mr. Wolf gets kicked out of the pack, and he doesn't have another pack to go to because they didn't turn enough to make like 3 different packs. Then he goes looking for love in all the wrong places, and what happens is these wolves have actually mated with large dogs and coyotes. So now we have this hybrid, and lots of them, especially here in McCreary County, called coy wolves.
And they're much larger than coyotes.
Yeah, they're not, the average coyote is 25 to maybe 35, 40 pounds, if that. Those of you who follow my Facebook page, you can go, there's a reason I post pictures of my dogs in these certain locations. Because then you'll see that black German Shepherd is an 85-pound German Shepherd. That other St. Bernard is 100 and something plus pound St. Bernard. Mm-hmm. These coy wolves are the size of these dogs, okay? And their scat is the size of these dogs. These are not coyotes. Now, we do have coyotes. We have both.
We do.
We have coyotes, we have wolves, and we have coy wolves. And you gotta, to me, these are becoming, and we've done shows on this before, these are becoming a real problem. We have we did a show, I think 2 different shows. You can go on MBR or YouTube. Go on YouTube, type in Truth or Politics Coy Wolves, and you'll see the whole shows we did where we post pictures and everything of the hunters around hunting these things because they're really wreaking havoc with farms, with cattle, with small animals all across the county. And there's basically 3 packs. There's the Cumberland Falls pack, and that's the pack that runs behind my house and area. There's the Pine Knot pack, which is really wreaking havoc over in Pine Knots. And over at the Wayne County line, what you call that area over there again? The mountains over there.
Bill Farm and
Yeah, that area over there. There's real foresty. There's a pack over there as well. So I want to ask you about your situation, because I know you get called out on those, and stray dogs, dangerous dogs that are turned loose and running in packs. So
yeah. What we have in the county at this point in time is the price of dog food's gone up. Everybody's felt that pinch trying to feed your animals. And a lot of folks have found that they can't feed the animal, so they simply uncollar them and let them go. What that has done is introduce an enormous amount of stray dogs into my area. Now, one dog by itself, not so much of a problem. But when dogs start gathering up or they start meeting up with their buddies, they develop what we call a pack mentality.
yeah,
And that pack mentality is just nature. It's natural to their genetics. It comes, all dogs stream from the wolf bloodline at some point in history. And once we've bred them into different species and breeds, or whatever you want to call it, letting them go and getting into packs in the area results in people getting hurt. They become highly aggressive, especially when they start getting hungrier. They become a threat to livestock, goats, sheep, cattle, horses, people. As some of you may know, we had an incident here in the county a few months back where a elderly woman was murdered by a pack of 6 dogs. Okay, these were various mixed breed. They all called pit bulls, but they were mixed breed of some sorts, and there was pits there. The problem we're having is people are not being responsible, having their dogs neutered and spayed, and keeping them up, it is required by Kentucky state law that your dog remain on your property. If it's a female dog and she goes into heat, it is required by state law that you secure it in a building or a trailer where no animal can get to her. This will help limit our population problems, get them neutered and spaded, and following the procedures that are written in law, KRS statutes, that tells you how to handle these animals. Again, the coyotes and the wolves will breed with the domesticated dog. So you get coy dogs, coy wolves, coy coyotes, you get odd mixes of everything. And once they're out here and we have an extreme population, you're going to start losing your cats, your small dogs, your children are at threat because they will sit in the wood line and they will watch you for a day or two, determining what your habits are, how you move across the yard, what time you come out and feed your dogs, when you let your dog out to go to the bathroom. And if you have a small dog and you release him to go to the bathroom and you don't keep an eye on him, those coy wolves, coyotes, and other dog packs will just simply step out of the wood line, pick him off, and disappear. That's where you're losing your animals. A lot of people are blaming this and blaming that, and it's just simply the fact that these animals have overpopulated, and there's adult people out here not taking responsibility for their animals. They don't feel they have to keep them up. State law requires it. And that's causing the issue for you to lose your animals, also a threat to your children, yourself, and your yard. So a little more responsibility, and we could probably help curb this problem quite a bit.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Are there any legal remedies for a person who is attacked by such a, let's say your next door neighbor, and that's his big dog loose.
Mm-hmm.
And this big dog comes over and bites you real bad or maybe seriously injures you. Are there any legal remedies for that?
Absolutely. In this area, in the area of law and legalese, I call it, kind of like a different language, you have the right, if you've been attacked by your neighbor's dog, you've made attempts to tell them to stay away, let them keep them off their property, what have you, and they let their dog get loose. If it comes to your property, bites you, you have the right to compensation, medical bills being paid, various things. You will report to the county attorney's office after going to the medical facility first. You must report to a medical facility in any dog bite. That way, I have the option of them calling me, and I can come out and put the dog on a 10-day hold, either at the residence or at the kennels, depending on what I determine necessary. And that way, I can determine if the dog has rabies or any other kind of infectious disease that might cause a problem amongst the person who was attacked. After that, you can step to the county attorney's office. You can raise your complaint. You can give me the information where the attack took place. I'll come out and do a full investigation and report everything I get back to the county attorney's office.
And they are prosecuting people who are not, when you have a dangerous dog and you don't control it and it hurts somebody, you're going to get prosecuted. You are. I mean, and it's not the dog's fault, okay? It's your fault. It's the human's fault. And let me just say that I trained dogs my whole life. There's myself and a few. Jim Whittington is an excellent dog trainer. I'm trying to think of the other guy's name. I got a brain fart. But anyway, there's a few of us that really are military trained, and we train dogs our whole life since I was a kid. And I'm telling you, folks, if you are not going to train a dog, do not get a dog that's either in the working class, the AKC breeds, working, herding, or sporting. Because I'm telling you, with these medium to high energy dogs, your German Shepherds, anything that's a herding class, your Border Collies and stuff, your Pit Bulls, these dogs have, thousands of years of breeding to do what? To do a job. To do a job. That's what they have. Their whole DNA is built around, this is my job. It's in their DNA. If you don't hunt that dog, sport it, herd it, if you don't exert the energy from that dog, it's going to be a problem. So if you are not in good shape and not physically capable of handling, they call them dog handlers for a reason. If you are not physically able to run that dog, if you are not physically able to control that dog, if that dog can jerk you over and jerk you around, if you cannot handle those dogs, you don't need to get them. Okay? Go ahead.
I've heard of more than one such incident that he mentioned about the elderly lady getting killed and eaten by the dogs. And human beings are not being held responsible for taking control of their dogs, because this is happening a lot.
Yeah.
Now, if we have laws that are supposed to curtail this, they're not working. So, do you have any suggestions, either one of you, as to what we can do to make this a situation that make it ease up?
Here's, can I me just jump in real quick, and then one of the problems is, because I'm familiar with this, is because the neighbors won't report on the neighbors. That, people are afraid to report their neighbor. Am I right?
That's correct.
That it's their, and so when he comes out and does an investigation, everybody clams up. Well, I don't want to burn my house down, and nobody wants to report who really owns this dog.
True statement.
So he comes out to investigate, or the cops, they come out to investigate, and here's this dog, okay, or dogs. Suddenly nobody owns the dogs. Everybody denies ownership of the dogs.
Correct.
Even though they have a collar or something. So what we need to do, and he said it, and he's going to say it again, I hope, is you need to be a good citizen, and you need to dime out your idiot neighbors, or these dogs may get you next. So, and he can, they can keep you confidential, but they can't go and arrest whoever owns these dogs, who, in a case where they've attacked somebody or something, if you don't know who owns the dogs. And if everybody denies who owns the dogs, it's kind of hard to, the dog ain't going to say, he owns me. Dogs can't talk. So,
what we do run into, and it's quite true what she says about neighbors not wanting to snitch on neighbors and so forth, whatever you want to call it, informing me of problem areas allows me to get to an area. It may take me a minute because I'm a single officer in the entire county, so it does take me a minute to respond to the entire county. But it does give me the opportunity to get into the area, look at the situation, possibly contact whatever owners I can find, and inform them of things that they are not aware of. Education on the laws and the requirements helps out a lot of neighborhoods. I've done a lot of work with these neighbors and try to curtail the problem. If you get dogs, she's made the point that you need to train them. Dogs and cats or anything of animal nature that you're going to make into a pet requires time. It requires time, especially the canine section of this, the dogs, the canine part of it. Dogs need attention and time. We all love them when they're puppies and they're running around and they're cute, soft, and they smell funny and they're wonderful. However, puppies become dogs. And if you get a Cane Corso or a German Shepherd or a large breed dog, Great Danes, these dogs require an extreme amount of time and energy. You have to invest in that time with your dogs. The more you socialize with them, the more you work with them, the less aggressive they are, the more people friendly they are. Now, a lot of you all will make the statements all the time. I hear this 1,000 times a week. Well, my dog wouldn't do that. A dog is like a small child. If you take your eyes off of it and allow it to do what it wants to, it will do what it wants to. And it will run back home with the big puppy dog eyes and look at you like, I didn't do this. Or I don't know why everybody's yelling and chasing me up the driveway. Okay, the dog will do what is in nature. You have to be responsible. You have to keep it on your property. You have to put time into your animals. Whether it's cats, dogs, horses, everything requires time. You can't take a dog and simply put a chain on him and put him out there in a lot and throw food at him. If you do this, this will create an aggressive animal.
yeah, well.
It will only, those who bring it food will be the only ones given leeway. And at some point, that may change. So you have to be extremely careful how you handle your animals. Take them off the chain. Walk them around the yard. Introduce them to people. Introduce them to other animals.
And that starts when they're very young.
We're talking as soon as they're old enough to open their eyes and see, they need to be introduced to different people. They need to be understanding that these are people and their friends and family, and you don't bark at humans unless it's an emergency situation. And that can be taught.
Such a much larger responsibility than almost anybody knows.
Horribly large responsibility, and people just take it for granted. Oh, it's a cute puppy. But you don't understand, you've just chosen a new lifestyle because it requires a change of your life to handle your animals.
Yeah, I mean, people say that know me. I don't know how you do it. Okay, well, I get up at 5:30 every morning. Well, not every morning, but at least 4 mornings a week. Sometimes 5. In the wintertime, I do more. Okay, and then I'm on the trail, and I'm out there with my dogs, and I'm out there. I'm not out there for 15 minutes, folks. I'm out there. I usually spend 2 hours with these dogs. I'm making sure they're getting their energy out, but the whole time I'm also training them. Now, these dogs are already well trained, but here's the thing. People don't get, oh, okay, but I trained them. Oh, okay. No, they're never completely trained. You have to reiterate. Do it. Oh, somebody backing up. You have to, you have to retraining. It's like a kid. You're constantly retraining your kid. You tell your kid you think your kid's all fine and everything's fine, and they go and do it again. You have to sit them down and chew their butt again. How many times you got to stick them in the corner, put them on a timeout. Dogs are they're a lot like kids. You have to do this almost every day. You don't have to run them every day, but
Huge responsibility.
It is. And I put dozens and dozens of hours every month, every week into my dogs. And people would come to my house and say, your dogs are so calm. They just lay there and they're just so calm. They don't, And I'm like, well, they're calm because this morning they ran. I did 3 miles. They did 10 miles because they run and come back and run. They're tired. That's why they're well-mannered. You have to tire them out. Then's when you train them. And any good dog handler will tell you this. You cannot take a medium or high energy dog and just take it out of a pen that's been sitting all day, or a dog lot or whatever, or out of your house and train it. No, you've got to pretty much exhaust that dog first. Because if that energy's not gone, it's not going to listen. That has to be done 4 to 5 days a week. Okay, if you have one of these dogs like I'm talking about, okay, and if you can't do that, don't get one of these dogs because they end up at the pound. Thousands of beautiful German Shepherds are destroyed every year. Purebred dogs. Thousands of beautiful Pit Bulls destroyed every year because they get them. They think, oh, I can handle it. I know what I'm doing. No, you don't know what you're doing. Unless you are a trained dog handler or you've had some training yourself, don't get one of these dogs. And if you do plan on getting one, you better be in shape and you better go get some training yourself first. And again, Lee Frazier in the county is really good. Jen Whittington, I don't know what their schedules are, but, I hope they don't get mad at me coughing their name up. But these people know what they're doing. They can give you some tips. I don't know if they charge for that or whatever, but you need to really learn how to be a dog handler before you get one of these dogs, or you will have a problem. Am I wrong?
It's a very, very complicated issue because human beings often adopt animals into their family. They love these animals. They have very complicated emotional feelings about these animals. And when it comes to correcting them, and sometimes the methods of correction of animals, one that they will understand, sometimes can be is necessary to be a strong correction.
Yeah.
And when that happens, if it's required of, say, a young lady who loves her dog, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
The dog will not get corrected. And the dog is a beast of the field. It's not another human being. And oftentimes human beings get this a little mixed up because they actually love the dog. And I understand that, but it's not always. It doesn't always turn out well.
Yeah, believe me, I love my dogs, but people who come and who've watched me, work my dogs and everything, I'm not out there when I'm on the trail with them and I'm working them. I'm not petting on them. Okay, my dogs do not ever get any petting. They don't get treats. They get nothing until they do what I want them to do first. These are working dogs. They do their job first, and only after they do their job, or during the course of doing their job, do they get an attaboy, or good dog. When they do what I want them to do, okay? And they don't get treats. They don't get good pets or anything. Once that job is done and we come back, they know they go right into their lot because they know. People are like, well, how do you get your dog in a lot? And it's like, because I trained them to go in the lot. You know what I mean? You starts when I got these puppies when they were 7 weeks old. At 7 weeks old, I had them on the trail with me. They
are often very proud of themselves for
Yeah.
having performed that function, and
It satisfies the
it
masters.
satisfies
It does.
them and it satisfies their masters.
So they walk right in there and they lay down and they know, here I comes. I come in with the treats and they know they got to sit. You know, they don't get petted. They don't get. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, she's mean to her dogs. No, I'm not. That's part of being a good dog handler. You got to teach your dogs. Pets, treats, they don't come for free. They need to work and do something, just like your kids. You know, there's a lot of problem with people don't do their kids that way. You know, my son will tell you, man, you know, my mom was tough. And then now he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and runs a martial arts studio. But he'll tell you, when he was little growing up, he knew. I had him trained. He would not come up to me and say, can I have money? He would say, Mom, what can I do? I want to go to the movies. He knew. He would come up and ask me, what can I do? Because I would tell him, no, you got to do this, 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 this. And then he would go do it, and then I would inspect it. And if he didn't do it right, nope, you didn't do it right. I would jerk his chain. Just like that. I used dog. My son will tell you about this too. He goes, my mom used dog training on me. But he turned out pretty
He's a
good.
fine young man.
He is. But if you're one of these people that you can't discipline your kids, then probably don't get a dog. Or if you do, get a little fluffy thing that if it does bite somebody, it ain't gonna hurt them. Don't get one of these large, medium-sized, large dogs.
More aggressive, stronger.
More aggressive dogs.
Stronger-willed breeds.
So, okay. So, we covered poaching, fences. What else I want to cover? Pots and pans, stray dogs. I'm trying to think. Did we miss something? I thought we would go over. We're under time. Anything else you want to bring up?
Basically, for the county's sake, for our sake in the county, I try to work with my community in every way that I can to help everybody out. Feel free to call anytime, 8:30 to 4:30 Monday through Friday.
Number?
606-310-8667. And I will do my best to get your calls. Please be patient with me. I'm one officer. I get 35 calls as an average a day.
They keep him busy.
I stay on the road. I'm out at all hours of the night quite often. So I do what I can. If I come to your area and I don't have, our kennels are under contract. They are not ours. So we have to accommodate and work with them in view of how many bed spaces we have available. Okay, and I run into a problem with the county because they take in civilian as well as mine. So we end up with a full kennels very quickly. And we've now gone to transporting them. They've even had to start doing euthanizations. You can turn in pets if you need to surrender them, but you need to call the kennel first and see if they have a bed space or get on their list. And then they can help you out that way. They've also started taking in puppies. We weren't taking puppies for a while. Now the kennel has decided that we're going to start, the powers that be at the kennel will start taking in puppies so that we can start limiting the number of dogs that are out there growing and breeding irresponsibly. We're trying to cut it from below and slow our growth rate down. Because right now my growth rate is outrunning my ability to bring them in.
And I want to reiterate something he brought up too, folks. If you're not going to spay or neuter your pet, every dog I've ever gotten, except I immediately, when they're puppies, as soon as they get big enough, and bigger dogs you can spay and neuter them younger, spay and neuter them. Here's why. Not just because of the breeding situation, but also these dogs they're better dogs. They're much better dogs if they're spayed or neutered. They stay home more. They don't have that drive. You know what I mean? They're still fine dogs. They're still, well, I don't want to make him, No, my dogs have plenty of energy. They do a fine job. You need to spay and neuter your dogs. There are a lot of low-cost spay and neuter clinics. Every one I get my hands on Facebook, I post them. Go to my private Facebook page. If there's one in the area, Somerset, Corbin, anywhere around, I post them. And you can go, and it's pretty cheap. You can spay and neuter, and I'll give them shots, too.
We have programs that we're working with right now. I have a course that I'm currently taking online that will allow my office to be able to acquire grants for more neutering and spaying things, and I'll be announcing that in the paper soon. Our county ordinance has been updated and refreshed. It is currently under legal review to make sure that we've crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's. And as soon as it's available, you'll be able to pull it up on the county line, the county internet line there, and be able to see what all the county ordinance is. And KRS 258, 259 are extensively educational on the handling of dogs, what's required, what's not required, what you can and can't do.
If we've got a few more minutes, I don't think we've fully covered how to correct these attacks and actually one person's dog killing another person. In my mind, that is his property, and it has not been properly managed by him, and thereby, just like you wouldn't if you don't control your car, you can run over someone. I think that would be negligent homicide and would deserve a full investigation, a deep investigation, find out just whose dog that really is.
During the case that I spoke of earlier, where the little elderly lady was killed by the animals, that is still an ongoing investigation.
Still don't know who owns those dogs.
We know who owns the dogs. That's all being dealt with, and I can't go into details at this time because it's still an ongoing case.
I understand.
I do come out, issue citations. I will, if I determine that an area has a problem with the dog, I find that you're not going to listen and not going to keep your dogs up, I am authorized to issue citations to you. I can pull the dogs away from you. I can charge you, take you to court, and you will lose. These are just the minor things that can be done with you. It can start at $500 and go to $5,000 fine, 6 months to a year in jail, and a felony on your record. That's just because you let your dog go and do damage to other people's property or harm some human being. Now, these are all things that I do currently. I have my citation books in the car. There are people in the county that got citations. There are people who've been in the county that's been to court on this. And they are currently working on whatever the judge has ordered from the court. I try my best to work with my neighborhood and my community before I have to issue citations. But make no mistake, if you don't want to follow my instructions, you don't want to follow state and county laws, you will issue a citation. You will be issued a citation, I should say, and you will go before the judge. I promise you that the prosecuting attorneys will call me in, ask me for my recommendations. And my recommendations will always be the very firmest, depending on what your behavior was and how much effort you actually put in. I understand that dogs break loose. It can happen. Accidents do happen. But I also remind everybody that's neglectful, and it is your responsibility. Even if your dog accidentally broke loose, I'm going to investigate it. And if your dog broke loose, you are still completely, he is absolutely correct, you are still completely liable under Kentucky state law for anything your dog does outside of your property boundary.
Also, you can be sued.
Very much so.
Not only can he issue a citation and you appear for the judge, but if you've caused some damage to property or another human being, that human being on the other side of that can turn around and sue you into oblivion. So you can be in a world of hurt because you didn't listen to him or you got the wrong kind of dog. I'm going to tell a real quick story here, and I'm not going to mention names. This lady came, a lot of people come to me because they know I know dogs. So this lady comes to me a couple years ago and she says, look, I know you know a lot about dogs. What kind of dog should I get? I want to get a dog. You know, I'm by myself now. My husband died and I'm by myself and I want to get a dog. Okay, I said, well, what are you going to do with it? And she said, love it. And I said, no. No, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to, you know, or do you want it to herd sheep? Do you want it just to be a house dog? What are you going to do? And I could tell that this woman was not physically fit, okay, as an understatement. She was not physically capable of being a dog handler to a mid-sized to large, medium to large energy dog. So she's talking about a border collie, and I'm like, no. Have you ever seen what these border collies do? You know, they run 100 miles an hour all day long. You know, they dart around, and one border collie can herd, 100 sheep into a pen. They're working class, they're herding class dogs. They're bred to work. You don't want any dog like that. And so I tried to explain to her and give her some ideas on what to do. Oh, okay. Well, 6 months, 8 months later, she comes back and she sits down and she just baffled. She goes, I didn't listen to you. And she goes, do you know anybody who wants a border collie? And I went, yeah. Of course, she couldn't run it. She couldn't train it because she just physically couldn't handle it. And she said, I love this dog. She goes, but every time I leave my house, it just tears her house all to pieces. And she showed me pictures of the couch torn all to pieces because this is what's going to happen. A medium to high energy dog, if you don't exert that energy, that dog will become a problem in some form or fashion. And then what is sad is then the dog goes to the pound.
Well, maybe she should have got a man to love, and they're much easier to handle. And
Dog.
And they occasionally will listen.
Occasionally.
Dogs have an issue with anxiety.
Yeah.
If you have a dog and you play with it at your home, it's your pet. I love my dogs. I have 3. One's a rescue dog, and the other 2 have come through my life through various circumstances. But if you play with them at home and you decide to leave them in the house and you're going to disappear, that dog automatically, he doesn't have a sense of time. He just knows that my boss is gone, I'm bored to death, and I'm missing him.
Yeah.
And they immediately go into a state of anxiety or depression, however you want to call it, and they will go to your personal property, usually a shoe or something you've had contact with, and they will shred it. And that's their disappointment that you left them.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to understand the theory and the thoughts behind handling animals. And this applies to most pets that you have. They go through separation anxiety. They don't deal well with being cooped up and left alone. So if you have any questions, again, 606-310-8667, Monday through Friday. Give me a call. I'll try to help you out.
Got a question
Go
right
ahead.
there. Go ahead.
If in the event, she was talking about the possibility of getting poachers on her property. If she wants to post her property to prevent hunting on it, what steps does she need to take?
That's a good question.
For posting property, you would talk to the actual Fish and Wildlife Control because they would actually give you a better idea. In my purview of it, the property, you go to your local hardware, wherever you buy your signs, and you post your property. And that would be posted on the outside of your boundary lines so that if anybody coming in can see it. You have to make it visible. You can't just stick a sign out there and holler, my property is posted. Okay, it has to be available from any angle or any direction. All right, perfectly available, so you may have to buy numerous signs. However, a sign is only as good as the people reading them. A criminal will pay no attention to signs, no attention to fences, no attention to wire of any kind. Okay, if you have incidents that start happening, call me, let me come and inspect it, let me come check it out, take some photos. Let me get a report into Mr. Austin's office so we can start looking. Let me go talk to the rangers and the game wardens. We work together. Let them call me. I'll talk to the game wardens, tell them where I'm having my poaching problems, and tell them where I've got new poachers showing up. The game wardens will start setting up static posts in that area, start looking for things. These guys are very thorough, and they can do their job very well as long as they have adequate information. Anything I can get a hold of gives them more to work with.
Folks, any final words? We've got 2 minutes or less than 2 minutes. Anything else? Okay, folks, how about a round of applause for our guests here tonight? I thought they did a really, really good job. Folks, we want to thank you all very, very much. We will have another show here in a couple of weeks. I'm busy in the middle of something, so it's going to be a couple of weeks before we have another show. Unless something exciting and happens and I just have to have another show. So, again, we want to thank all the people out there in Facebook land for watching and YouTube land on NBR TV and everybody who makes Truth or Politics happen. We'll see you next time on Truth or Politics. Thanks.